Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 23rd day of June, 2020. Well, it's going to be 95 here today, so my husband's out watering everything in the world, which we'll have to probably do again at the end of the day. Living on the high desert and trying to garden is not easy. You know, we have volcanic soil, and although that can be a good thing, it's very dry, and we don't get a lot of rain. We get some. We've had some this month, in fact, which has been nice, but we don't get a lot of it. And so everything is so dry, and it's so windy here all the time and we don't have humidity, fortunately. Sometimes in the winter we do. We don't have it usually in the summer because, again, everything is so dry. But the wind is what makes it unfortunately bearable, and the wind is sometimes not bearable. So I don't know. It's just weird. And then there's the ground striking lightning in the summertime, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a wild and woolly place. And so if you're gardening, you just never know. You have to understand timing. You have to understand covering things up. Some people choose to turn the water on, the irrigation on, the sprinklers on at, say, I don't know, 4:35 in the morning. And then it coats the plants with ice. And that's supposed to be better. I don't know. I've done it all. And I just cover. And I try to make use of better timing so I don't have to. And so you plant a little later, or maybe you keep things in the house under lights a little while longer or something. But, it's just how it works. Well, today we have a 5 energy. So, you're talking safety and protection, also change. But changes experienced today could be profound. I mean, we are in a 22 year, so that's the cosmic builder, so soul level change there. Be certain that all measures are taken, however, and that all concerned are protected and safe today. It is a Tuesday, so it's Mars energy, so, impulse control could be lacking. So just make sure that you stay the course and you remain protected, and you keep that same sensibility regarding others as well. So. Well, I think I'm done shuffling, so let's go ahead and take our first 3 cards. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for coming and welcome. If you're back, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I appreciate everyone so much. You just have no idea. This is not exactly something that I would normally do, doing a video like this. Public speaking was never my forte. I guess once I get going, I'm fine in front of a group, but it's that initial standing up in front of a group that I just, oh my gosh, it's just awful. If I were a singer, it would be stage fright, it's that kind of thing. And so to do this is just really challenged myself to do something I'm wholly uncomfortable with. So anyway, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you learn something. That's really my main goal is just to get people thinking about different kinds of esoteric influences that might impact their day, and what you might be able to do using tarot and runes to just sort of give yourself a little more insight into how you navigate this time and form. So let's go ahead and take our first 3 cards. And again, I'll take the 13th one each time for randomness sake. So let's get started. Oops. Assuming my hands work. Well, we start with the Knight of Wands. Wands is the fire element. It's about our will on a Tuesday. He's off to the Holy Land, perhaps taking Robert the Bruce's heart to Jerusalem on pilgrimage. Yes, that happened. Yes, Robert the Bruce is a relative. He's an ancestor. And the individual tasked with, and I can't remember his name, but the individual tasked, the Knights Templar who was tasked with taking the heart itself to Jerusalem on pilgrimage, is also a relative. If you haven't researched your ancestry, I don't know. Once you start, you can't stop. I've had an account since, like, I don't even know, 2007 or 2008. I don't work on it as much anymore, but I do work on it. It's always nice to expand the tree and see just who you're related to. I went looking for witches. I found royalty in the Mother Lode and the Merovingians, and And you know, I've taken it all the way back to Adam and Eve, and further, if you look at oh gosh, who was it that I got his ancestry, because he included the Anunnaki folks and all of that into it. But I ordered his, I can't think of his name. Oh my goodness, oh that's terrible. Well, I'll remember it eventually and I'll tell you, but he did an ancestry that includes all of that and shows the linkage between who they were and who everybody else was that came from them. And so you get to see, really, at least in his estimation, the extraterrestrial influences in our lives, who they were, at least in terms of the Sumerian influence and who was here at that time. I'm sure that the genetic manipulation that took place was so much more vast than that and took place in so many other ways. It wasn't just these people. It's been happening throughout all of humanity's growth and development. And so it wasn't just them, but it's just an interesting way to look at it. And so I put that in. I added it into my, so that's now in the Ancestry.com database. So, but it was already there. Okay, other people have done this as well. Gerald Clark, that's his name, Gerald Clark. I knew I'd remember it, but I just, but you should look it up. You should look up your ancestry and just see who you're related to. You'll be really surprised. Oops. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sometimes counting the cards out is more complicated than simply shuffling. We have the sun. On this Mars energy day, this Tuesday, this day of catalytic energy. The sun's about awakening. It's about the light returning. It's about higher self. It's about expression of will. It's about success and victory. So maybe the Knight of Wands on his trip back to the Holy Land, because you can see the 3 pyramids there. We'll look at that a little more closely, though. You know, maybe he's headed toward the past, and so it's in reminiscence of family and tradition, possibly. So the light returning regarding that, maybe, about who we are to one another and what we owe each other in this life together. The Empress. Oh, we haven't seen her in a while. The 3rd card of the Major Arcana. Now, the Sun is the 19th card of the Major Arcana, so you're talking a 1 energy there. So new beginnings and wholeness. But let's go ahead. I'm going to think about this for a second. Just give me a second. And I want to see how I want to do this. All right, let's do like a reverse yod. Well, I'm going to have the Sun and the Empress be the significators because I want them to be the ones influencing the night. Okay, so we'll just start with them first, I guess, and describe the influences there for the night to be dealing with, or to perhaps be embracing. The Sun's going to be about happiness and fulfillment. You see the sun above, its rays radiating out everywhere. You see the sunflowers above in full bloom, above the rock wall. The strength of the rock wall, or well, it's more like mortar instead of actual rock. We see the white horse of purity. We see the nude child of rebirth. Reunion, the light, awakening, all of that. You see the orangish colored cloth, the banner, which is likely, you can see the top there, so it's actually a flag, but you know, it's not, I don't know that it's like a family crest flag or anything like that, or indicative of where this is. To me, it's just indicative of vitality and the will and the creative force within. The source energy within. I mean, you could look at the Sun card as an expression of source energy, really. So if you think of that in terms of new beginnings, you're talking wholeness and union and rebirth. And then when you go to the Empress, then you're talking the third card. So you're talking triplicities. We see her shield down below with the symbol for Venus on it. This is about love and fertility and family and rebirth again. Her left hand is at her side. You see her beautiful crown, her crown of stars. But you see the 5 in the center? The 5 stars in the center is arranged in a pentagram fashion, isn't it? Although there's one in the center of it. So in a sense, you could think of the Empress as protection as well. You can see the roses on her gown there. Looks like she's wearing a strand of pearls around her neck. But she's the mother aspect of the goddess. So in a sense, what you have here, traditionally in pagan tradition, the sun is thought of as the god, and then you have the earth is the goddess, or the moon is the goddess. But you have Mother Earth, which is more the empress than say the star or the moon card would suggest. In terms of emotions and all of that, yes, it's contained within the Empress card. But if you look at this as the masculine and feminine polarity within, in terms of higher self energies, you would have the mother and father principle here. Reception and the receptivity of the feminine side versus the projectivity of the masculine side, you see. So as the knight goes off into battle or into wherever he's going, I view this as going on a pilgrimage myself. It's something that we do to in varying religions. Varying religions will have you go on pilgrimage to the Holy Land. Whether it's going to Mecca, whether it's going to Haifa, whether it's going to Jerusalem, wherever it is that you're going. I don't know where other religions go. You have other Buddhist and Hindu traditions that might go visit a particular location. These are all pilgrimage types of experiences. They're spiritual types of journeys that one takes. So if you're talking about then a spiritual journey here, you see the 3 pyramids there. Again, triplicity. Again, aligning with the Empress. Mind, body, spirit alignment. But when you're going on pilgrimage, you're basically doing something that is not only in service to your own spirituality, but it's honoring the tradition of the collective spirituality or religion or religious teachings that you subscribe to. Now, if you don't want to, make it that narrow of a definition, if you're just going back there to maybe go to a place where, if it isn't to Mecca or to Jerusalem or wherever, if you're just going to maybe a place that inspires you, maybe you have a favorite place in the mountains you like to go, where spirit just seems to infuse the entire place and you are transformed when you go there. And that's the whole point, to go back and transform and transmute ego basically into spirit. And that's really what he's doing here. You can see the Ouroboros on his cloak there over his battle attire. They're all over it, suggesting rebirth and renewal, coming full circle, in other words. But the most important thing that he needs to do is to understand and balance the masculine and feminine resonance within. Let's do one more card. When you're trying to take a spiritual journey, that's really what you're doing. But in fact, it's the true polarity is really more about managing or actually transmuting ego into spirit and having spirit inform your perceptions, your vision, your choices, your decisions, your life, basically. It's not something that you work your way back to. It's something you simply remember. You have to simply remember who you are as the higher self energies and not the body or the personality that seems to want to interact with everybody. You know, that one is governed by ego, and ego doesn't want to pay any attention to spirit because ego's having too much of a good time not doing so. And so, and I just think this is just so interesting getting both the sun and the empress. I wouldn't feel the same way if it was the emperor instead of the sun, because I think the emperor takes his cues from the empress. The sun does not. The sun illuminates the earth, the sun illuminates the moon, the sun illuminates everything. The sun is one of the energetic bodies that the cosmic rays go through in order to inform our whole existence. Everything is an energetic structure, including our souls. It's just part of this one great source energy. Everything is. And things get cast out from that. They slow down. They become planets. They become the stuff of the universe. They become, you know, the individual beings that inhabit all of the planets. It's all source energy slowed down into these agreed upon forms, part of the source blueprint that we all live under and that we all express in our lives every single day, even when we don't realize that that's what we're doing. We always have the choice. Do we let spirit inform this, or do we let ego? Once we get into form, then we start talking about masculine and feminine polarity. And and that has to remain in balance. You get too much feminine polarity and perhaps you're too non-resistant. You get too much masculine on the masculine side of it, then if it's too heavily weighted there, and then you have too much aggressive energy, too much assertion, too much aggression. So you can see where one side, if there's too much of one, nothing gets done. On the other side, too much gets done maybe, and things get completely messed up. So again, balance is really the key. And when you're going back and you're paying tribute and honor to the past and to what was, and to realign and transform spiritually, well, then you're going back to who you really are as source energy and not the bodies that you're inhabiting. That's the real journey that we take, is to remembrance, not working our way back to God. That's not what that is. It's a journey of remembrance and awakening to the source presence within, as that is our true reality. Let's take one more card. Well, again, we have another 3 card. This is a 3 of Pentacles. So we're talking the earth element. We're talking our material security. And here we have a gentleman who's a craftsman. He's working his trade. A couple of ladies have come by and they're admiring what he's doing. Maybe they're going to hire him. But it's that flow of energy. He's learned his craft. He's learned his trade. He's working it. Others are noticing. He can earn a living this way. We're watching everything move the way it should. Everything in shared purpose, everything interacting with one another for a better future. Let's take a look at the rune now. I like the 3 of Pentacles. It shows the flow of, it basically shows the flow of life when it's working properly, when everything is integrated and people are aware and awake and understanding of how nobody's staying back from one another. They're in other words, these women could have been afraid to approach this guy, didn't want to bother him, or you know, maybe they didn't know, but they're taking a chance and they're admiring what he's doing. So they're giving him that feedback. It's that integration that we all seem to have such trouble with these days. Being able to support one another and reinforce the progress that we want to make together. You know, when you have a knight who's trying to be on a quest, you know, you have to ask yourself, a quest for what? Well, whenever you go on a spiritual quest, you're basically reestablishing your foundation. And that's in a sense what we're talking about here with the pentagrams, or the pentacles up there. Not pentagrams, but well, they are. But when they have a circle around them, now they're a pentacle. But that's what we're doing there. You know, he's gone back, he's reestablished his spiritual foundation. He knows the direction he needs to go. He knows the perceptions he needs to function under. He knows how he needs to see everything. He knows the experience he wants to come back and have with others now that he's received this enlightenment and this awakening on this spiritual journey. And he's ready to come back in mind, body, spirit alignment with everyone, so that we can go on in shared abundance and shared purpose on a shared path. I'll use is the rune for today. And I'll use, is it 15th or 14th? No, 15th. Perth Rose, 14th. But it's the elk. You can see the antlers up there. Also represents the elk sedge. In other words, the grasses, the marshy grasses, are so tall. And because it's marshy, they kind of sink down when they walk. And so you don't always see them out there. You know, they sort of blend. And depending what all's out there, see, there could be willow, there could be all kinds of things. And so you can't really necessarily see them, even the ones with the big horns on them, right? The big antlers. You don't always see them too well. And so there's an element of protection, but it's protection from spirit. It almost looks like we're raising our arms in supplication to the goddess. Air, fire, and water inform earth. You can see that flow of energy down into form with Alyes. It really represents the Bifrost Bridge to spiritual awakening, to, again, the link between spirit and form. Understanding that the heaviest weight is on spirit, as you can see. With air, fire, and water above. Intellect, will, and emotions, focusing into form. It's all a blend. I mean, you can look at these, at the individual small cards, you know, the minor arcana. You can look at the different suits, and sure, the aces include everything within the whole suit. But if you look at each card, you're going to find other elements on them. Life is an integrative experience, and I don't know why. You know, it has to be harmonious. It's not that there can't be some friction within, some inner not these to make, you know, something happen, you know, or to maybe change course if it needs to be. But at the end of the day, it's still an integrative experience. We're not on our own in this. Yesterday, the geomancy rune was Populus. Be cool if it was Vaya today, but it's not. It's going to be Cata Draconis. Now, just so you know, there were some runes, geomancy runes that are considered too evil to continue when you throw them first. Cata Draconis is one of them. So is Rubius, so is Carcer. It's like, oh my God, oh no. You're supposed to destroy the reading, everything about it, whatever you're using, just destroy it all. Too evil to continue. That's nonsense. Here you have a Cata Draconis, representing the tail of the dragon, or the south node of the moon. This would be Caput, or the head of the dragon, and the north node of the moon. But this is Cata today. We're talking about endings. We're talking about karma. We've resolved that with the night, going back and realigning spiritually and understanding what the true meaning was behind our life to begin with. We get caught up here. We get caught up in the reaction to everything. We can rarely step back and see the bigger picture when we're in the moment of all of that. And I think that that's really all that this is really saying, is take a look at how past lives, I mean, we're really talking about, with the south node of the moon, we're talking about not just something we did yesterday, but we're talking past life experience. And again, the whole notion of past, present, and future is an illusion that we use to navigate through our lives, because there was a before. We were fetuses, we were infants, we were small children, we were adolescents, then we became young adults, then middle-aged, now older, now it's really old, right? So we see the passage of time. We see how we do all of that, right? So we have that sense, but it is an illusion. Everything happens pretty much at the same time, and the past lives are probably happening all around us at the same time, just in different frequencies, just in different locations. The oversoul spits out any number of souls at any given time, pieces of itself, to then inhabit these other experiences, these other bodies, or whatever it is we're inhabiting. Because it may not be a body, it might be something else. What if part of our oversoul wants to go and experience the birth of a planet and all of everything that it takes to make that happen? You could be infusing a piece of your oversoul into that, right? So we don't know what this all is. All of the information that we gather goes back to the collective source energy, informs the entire group. And so that's where, so you get psychic people, that's really what they're accessing. That Akashic record of everything that's gone on and continues to go on. That's all we're seeing. When people who are empathic experience people's energy, experience their emotions, we're just experiencing the non-physical aspect of self, because that's all that is. It's energetic intention. That's all it is. Empaths pick up on it because we still remember that. We're still there. People who are intuitive access that other non-physical aspect of self, and they see what happened or what's going to happen. Folks that are intuitive, that are psychic, that go and help police departments look for missing people, they're going to have a sense whether or not they're alive or they're not, and maybe they can help find where their bodies are, because they're hitting on that collective energy where all truth resides, where all experience that we've had collectively and individually resides. They're just tapping into it and grabbing it, being aware of it. But in truth, that's our fundamental nature. That's our fundamental reality. That's our fundamental truth. And so even if you've chosen not so much to be aware of it, you can be. You just need to turn your attention to it and know that it's true. And then watch the synchronicities and awarenesses. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I knew that. Watch them start to crop up in your lives and embrace them. If you don't want to think of them as gospel, well, that's fine, but just note them and then check and sense the synchronicities and the patterns that are happening, and see if there's not some awareness that you already have about them. Because I guarantee you it's there. You just need to know that. You need to remember it. It's not something you need to work your way to. It's there now. So, anyway, I guess that's it. Cauda draconis could also be signaling the end of one phase and the beginning of another. So if that's happening for you today, maybe we're going to see some breakthrough on awareness regarding the virus. If states would just simply require that businesses that are open wear masks, that they take sanitation procedures seriously and they do them, if they require anyone walking into it to have a mask on, if they would just simply require it and not permit people entrance who seem to want to not listen, just don't let them in. I don't know. Force the issue, and maybe we can get through this and have a better summer than what we're going to have, I think. I don't think that we are out of phase one. I don't think that, in fact, we may never get out of phase one. We may roll right on into phase two without any reprieve, because of the choices people are still continuing to make to not wear masks and protect themselves and others. So I know I sound like a broken record, but I don't know what else to do. If I can influence a couple of people every single day, then I'm happy about that. This is a really, really dangerous virus. And people, if they survive having it, it might mean some interesting pre-existing conditions going forward. This is very damaging to the body, apparently. Not everybody's going to fare well in it. And those that don't may have some real struggles going forward. We don't know yet. Um, Sometimes scarring on the lungs can lead to all kinds of things. If that's what's happening, that some people are experiencing, we don't know what their lives are going to look like going forward. They may struggle, they may heal, we don't know. No therapeutics, no vaccine. All we have is the choice that we're making right now. So let's make a good one and do the right thing and protect ourselves and everyone else in the process. So that's all I have to say. Have a good day, and check out the blog. Again, the esoteric influences are going to go up first, and I've watched them, and I'm going to publish them first and while I'm watching this, and then so look for that over there on the blog. Look for it here on YouTube too. And come back tomorrow. Click subscribe. I'd love you to do that, and have a wonderful day again. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another, and blessed be.